You can see the greenhouses at 100 degrees.
I usually keep domes over these. It holds the moisture into the plant, and I'm heating this with an electric cable that's used on pipes to keep them from freezing. And the material that's covering the cable is moist, and I have to keep wetting that down during the growing season on seeds. And the problem with 100 degrees in here and there's some sunshine in this area, I generally have to crack this thing just to let the heat out on both of them. Or during a really hot day like right now, I can just take them off. Now, these plants don't need light to germinate. I just have the light on so you can see the video. Well, we finally got some seeds planted a couple of days ago, and see the marigolds already popping up. That's why I say all the time that if you have young children, excuse me, something's in my throat. It's an easy thing to plant because they don't have to wait a long time for it to come up. We've got two trays of marigolds, 3 pots of tomatoes, Better Boys, 4th of Julys, and Sweet Millions. And we've got some parsley, calla lilies, and blackberry lilies growing. And this is all hostas. I grow hostas every year. See that hosta over there is a 2-year-old plant. I can sell it for more money than I can 1-year-old plants. These were some left over from 1-year-old plants that I will repot in a bigger pot. The bigger they are, the more you can get for them. I don't know how the wind is going to affect this GoPro, but it's howling. It's in the 70s, and this is some of our daffodils that have come up. Under our crepe myrtle, we have some daffodils, and our daylilies are up. And forsythia is a good barometer on the weather. When they bloom like this and the flowers open, it's time to put fertilizer on your yards. And these are the forsythias in the back. They're more in full bloom because they get more sun back here. This is a bed that we started 30 or 40 years ago, almost 40 years ago. We have all kinds of daffodils. These I found, they were a daffodil around the 1900s. I actually took one to a daffodil show here in Virginia in a tube to show them, and they said that is an early daffodil from the 1900s. And they wanted to know where I found it, and I said, by an old home place in the woods where I used to hunt. So that's over 100-year-old type daffodils, and there was no farm place there, so unless it was removed years ago, all the building disintegrated. There was no sign of any buildings, but yet these daffodils had survived even after the woods had grown up. You can see right there that the azalea flowers are just starting to swell. The pear tree here doesn't get enough sunlight, and you can look at how many flower blossoms are on this thing. It's a Bartlett pear, and it just doesn't get enough sun to really produce pears. And this is the top of our apple tree, our Rome apple tree that I've been trying to work on and get it to produce properly, even though the squirrels get all of it. You can see where I topped these all off last year, and see that one I just cut off, and that grew out of where I cut the terminal bud off, and that grew last year, and that grew last year. This is 2-year-old wood, and apple trees grow on 2-year-old wood. And see, there's a spur on a 2-year-old wood that is formed. There's spurs forming. The grapevines are just starting to, the buds are starting to swell, and we're going to have to take out all the old wood, and you can tell this is new wood by the brown, and see the old wood is older and starts to peel and crack. And we're trying to get this back to the center, so we have one in the center here and we have one in the center there, and we could use this one, and we'll just take out all the old stuff. And this is our peach tree, And this thing has a checkered past. The tree itself is probably at least 20 years old or more. We had it at the river and it didn't do well in the clay soil, and it never got more than about 3 or 4 feet tall. It got about that tall. And I dug it up, brought it here where we have really great soil. We have 16 feet of topsoil here. And we put it here probably 6 or 7 years ago, and it wasn't any taller than that stake right there. And that's what it's grown in 5 or 6 years. But it's got a lot of blossoms on it this year. In fact, I need to come in here and cut a few of these off because you need to have a good spacing between them to be able to produce fruit. At least nice sized peaches. If you have all these, they'll all be tiny and you wouldn't have anything to eat. And I've trimmed on this some, but I have a little crossing branch there that I need to work on, and I need to get the ladder and thin those out. But you can see there's a lot of buds on this tree, and it's taken a long time to produce. Now, unfortunately, the squirrels get a lot of them. These are our dahlias, and we're the 31st of March, and normally they would just be sprouting now. And as long as they're dormant, they won't sprout. And we had them on the porch here, and it generally stays pretty cool. But we have had some warm days, enough to energize those rhizomes to put out new growth. And then you're in a lot of trouble. And I had them stored in this soil mixture that I make up from compost and ProMix. And what I did is I planted these and let them start growing. Now, to get those out of there without damaging them, because they're really tender and you can snap them really easy, I'm going to have to saw with a little recip saw and cut the whole face out of this laying on its side, and gingerly get those out to put them in our whiskey barrel. But since they had started prematurely, I didn't have any other choice because I really can't put them outside. And before I do that, I will introduce these into the shadows in the yard to harden them off. And after the shadows, I'll move them out slowly over like a week, 10 days to get full sunshine. And then I will cut this open and plant them. But we're still 26 days away from our last frost date, so I can't put anything outside.